Over the past 3 weeks, there's been a lot of reporting about Clarence Thomas and all the gifts and money he took from billionaire Republican donor Harlan Crow. And there's some things that aren't being mentioned in this process that I think are important, and not just important in this situation, but overall in any judge anywhere, from the lowest juvenile court judge up to the Supreme Court. The the first is, and this should be obvious to any judge, you don't take gifts from people, especially not from billionaire Republican activist donors. You just don't take gifts from people. Judges have to be so careful about conflict of interest and appearances of impropriety and people expecting access after they've given hundreds of thousands. And this is not even close. This is an ugly, ugly situation. There's just no place for a judge to be receiving gifts other than small Christmas gifts from his wife and family. It just cannot be done. There have been some Supreme Court justices that said they wouldn't even accept an invitation to a party around Washington because it would give the appearance of them hobnobbing around with people who might someday have business before the court. But the other thing that is not being mentioned in this situation at all, because Clarence Thomas has given as his defense, this is just my good friend. He's my very good friend, and he wants to do good things for me, and it has nothing to do with me being a Supreme Court justice. It's just my good friend, Harlan Crow. Boy, that by itself is hard to swallow, but here's the point. When did Harlan Crow become his good friend? The timeline is essential. Before Clarence Thomas was a Supreme Court justice, did Harlan Crow approach him and say, "Hey, boy, Clarence, you're a sharp guy. I'd really like to get to know you better. Here's wads of cash because whenever I meet someone that I really like, I give them $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 just to show them that they're super people that are just delightful, the kind of kindred spirit that I love to have." No, nothing like that ever happened. After Clarence Thomas became a Supreme Court justice, then Harlan Crow decided, oh, what a good friend I'd like to be to Clarence Thomas. This stinks like a hot pile of mess in the middle of the kitchen floor. We're from an incontinent dog. This is just nasty in the extreme, and it is financial fraud, in my opinion. Then his wife also. It would be very interesting to know that $10 million that she's making. Was she also making that before her husband became a Supreme Court justice? Or perchance, she says she's a headhunter for law firms. I wonder, it might be of the same ilk, that she looks around, finds some middle-of-the-road candidate for some law firm that, may or may not be looking for someone, maybe is looking for someone. And she says, "Hey, here's somebody I found." They interview him. He's totally not qualified, but she still did work looking for that candidate. Here's $750,000 for all the work you did, bringing us that unqualified person who nobody would ever hire. But nonetheless, here's your money. I don't know if anything like that is going on, but it would sure seem like the exact same type of arrangement that is also on a timeline. Was she receiving these wads of cash through different law firms that may well have business before the Supreme Court? Harlan Crow may or may not. He's just interested in all the conservative Republican issues that would come before the court. Law firms, on the other hand, they might very well have direct business before the Supreme Court, and they just got to give Clarence Thomas, $700,000 in cash for maybe a boatload of legitimate work, maybe not. It doesn't change the fact that in all probability, these wads of cash began after Clarence Thomas was a Supreme Court justice. And that timeline is absolutely essential and is not being addressed very much in the news, as well as the issue that never, just flat no, judges cannot receive gifts, especially gifts of cash, from anyone.